The moment Ugandan nurse Rehema grabbed the terrified child and threw them both out of the path of a speeding SUV that was seconds from killing them, she had no idea she'd just interfered in a mafia assassination attempt, or that the devastatingly handsome Korean man, who arrived with armed bodyguards and tears streaming down his face, would look at her with such raw gratitude and hunger that her entire body would respond, making her forget she was bleeding on Boston pavement and had just nearly died. Daewon Park, Boston's most powerful crime boss, stared at the brave stranger who'd saved his daughter's life and felt something crack open in his chest that terrified him. This woman had thrown herself in front of death without hesitation, looked at him like he was just a man instead of a monster, and when their hands touched, as he helped her stand, the electricity between them was so powerful that both froze, knowing this moment would change everything. What neither of them knows, as he's refusing to leave her side at the hospital, as he's asking for her number, with desperation in his voice, as she's saying yes despite every logical warning screaming in her head, is that the men who tried to kill his daughter saw Rehema's face clearly and are already planning to use her as bait to destroy the mafia boss who dared to refuse their demands, and the passion building between them every time they touch will either save them both or be exactly what their enemies need to tear their worlds apart in the most brutal, public way imaginable. The black SUV came out of nowhere. Rehema's nursing shift had ended 20 minutes ago, and all she wanted was to get home, eat something warm, and call her mother in Uganda. Boston's autumn wind bit through her thin jacket as she walked down Tremont Street, past the evening crowd spilling out of restaurants and bars. Her feet ached. 12 hours on the hospital floor would do that to anyone. She was thinking about her patient in room 304, the elderly man who reminded her of her grandfather, when she heard it. The roar of an engine, tires screeching, and then a child's scream. Rehema's head snapped up. A little girl stood frozen in the crosswalk, her pink backpack sliding off one shoulder. The SUV was speeding straight toward her, the driver's face invisible behind tinted windows. Everything slowed down. Rehema didn't think. Her body moved before her brain caught up. She launched herself forward, grabbing the child around the waist and throwing them both toward the sidewalk. They hit the pavement hard. Pain exploded in Rehema's shoulder and hip as they rolled. The SUV flew past, so close she felt the rush of air against her face. It missed them by inches. For a moment, Rehema couldn't breathe. Her ears rang. Then she felt the child trembling beneath her. "Are you okay?" Rehema pushed herself up, ignoring the sharp sting in her palms where the concrete had scraped them raw. "Sweetie, are you hurt?" The little girl stared up at her with wide, terrified eyes. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old, with silky black hair cut in a neat bob and wearing an expensive-looking school uniform. Tears streamed down her round cheeks. "I want my daddy," the girl whispered. "It's okay, it's okay." Rehema pulled the child into her arms, checking her over quickly with practiced hands. No visible injuries, just scared. "You're safe now. What's your name?" "Sue Min." "That's a beautiful name. I'm Rehema. Can you tell me your daddy's phone number?" Before Sue Min could answer, the sound of screeching tires filled the air again. Rehema tensed, pulling the child closer, but these vehicles were stopping, not coming at them. 3 black cars, even more expensive than the first, surrounded them in a semicircle. Men in dark suits poured out, at least 8 of them, moving with military precision. Rehema's heart hammered. What had she gotten herself into? Then one more person stepped out of the middle car, and the air seemed to change. He was tall, probably in his early 30s, with sharp features and black hair styled perfectly despite the chaos. He wore a suit that probably cost more than Rehema made in 3 months, but it was his eyes that caught her. Dark, intense, and right now, filled with raw panic. Soo-min. His voice cracked on the name. Daddy! The little girl scrambled out of Rahema's arms and ran. The man dropped to his knees, catching his daughter and crushing her against his chest. His eyes squeezed shut. His whole body shook. Rahema slowly got to her feet, wincing. Her hip was definitely going to bruise. She should leave. Whatever this was, wealthy men with bodyguards and that much fear in their eyes, it wasn't her business. But then the man's eyes opened and locked onto hers. He stood, still holding Soo-min, and walked toward Rahema. Up close, he was even more striking. Strong jaw, full lips, and those eyes that seemed to see straight through her. One of his hands was still wrapped protectively around his daughter. The other reached out, stopping just short of touching Rahema's bleeding arm. You saved her. His voice was deep, with barely any accent. You threw yourself in front of a car for my daughter. Anyone would have done it, Rahema said, though her voice shook. No. He shook his head slowly. They wouldn't have. Most people freeze. You didn't even hesitate. Something flickered in his expression, something Rahema couldn't quite read. You're hurt. Let me take you to a hospital. I work at a hospital. I'm fine. You're bleeding. His tone left no room for argument. Jun-sik, bring the car. Really, I'm okay, Rahema protested, but her legs chose that moment to wobble. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving her shaky and sore. His hand caught her elbow, steadying her. The touch was gentle, but Rahema felt heat rush through her body at the contact. His skin was warm and his grip firm, but careful. Please. The word was quiet, meant only for her. Let me do this. You saved the most important person in my world. The least I can do is make sure you're taken care of. Rahema looked into his eyes and saw something that made her breath catch. Gratitude, yes, but also something else. Something that made her pulse quicken in a way that had nothing to do with almost being hit by a car. Okay, she heard herself say. The ride to the hospital was surreal. Rahema sat in the back of the luxury car with Soo-min pressed against her side. The little girl wouldn't let go of her hand. Across from them, the man watched them both with an intensity that made Rahema's skin tingle. I'm Daewon Park, he said finally. Daewon is fine. Rahema Nabiria. You're not from Boston originally. It wasn't a question, but Rahema answered anyway. Uganda. I've been here 3 years. You're a nurse? Yes, at Boston General. She paused. How did you know? You're scrubs. He nodded at her uniform, visible under her open jacket. And the way you checked Soo-min for injuries. Professional. The nice lady was very gentle, Daddy, Soo-min piped up. She told me I was brave, even though I was crying. Daewon's expression softened when he looked at his daughter. You were very brave, Princess. Then his eyes moved back to Rahema, and that softness shifted into something warmer, more dangerous. And the nice lady was very heroic. The way he said it made Rahema's stomach flip. At Boston General, Daewon insisted on staying with her. The emergency room staff clearly knew who he was. They practically tripped over themselves to help, giving Rahema priority treatment, despite her protests that she worked there and others needed help more. Mr. Park donates a lot to this hospital, one nurse whispered to Rahema, while cleaning her wounds. Like, a lot. While a doctor checked her over, confirming nothing was broken, just bruised. Soo-min sat in a chair coloring in a book one of the nurses had given her. But her eyes kept drifting to Rahema, making sure she was still there. Daewon stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Korean in a low, hard voice. Rahema caught words here and there. She'd picked up a little Korean from a coworker, enough to know he was angry about something. Very angry. When he hung up and turned back, his face was carefully blank again. "They're saying you were lucky," he said, walking closer. "Just bruising and minor scrapes." "I've had worse," Rahema said, then immediately felt stupid. What kind of response was that? But Daewon's lips curved slightly, almost a smile. Tough and brave, dangerous combination. Was he flirting with her? Rahema's heart did something complicated in her chest. The doctor finished, giving Rahema care instructions and pain medication. As she slid off the examination table, Daewon was suddenly there, his hand on her lower back, steadying her. "Thank you," she said, very aware of his touch through the thin fabric of her scrubs. "I should be thanking you." His voice dropped lower. "I will be thanking you. For the rest of my life, probably." Their eyes met and held. Rahema felt something electric pass between them, something that made her forget about the pain, forget about the crowded emergency room, forget about everything except the man standing inches away from her. "Daddy, can Miss Rahema come home with us?" Su-min appeared at their side, tugging on Daewon's jacket. "I don't think Miss Rahema wants to do that, Princess," Daewon said, though his eyes never left Rahema's face. "She's had a long day." "Actually, I live just a few blocks from here," Rahema said. "I can walk." "Absolutely not." Daewon's tone was firm. "It's dark, you're injured, and after what just happened, I'm not letting you walk anywhere alone." "Letting me?" Rahema raised an eyebrow. She didn't care how attractive he was, or how much money he had. Nobody told her what to do. Something flashed in his eyes. Respect, maybe. "I'm asking you," he corrected smoothly. "Please let me drive you home. For my peace of mind." Put like that, how could she refuse? At her apartment building, a modest 4-story walk-up in a working-class neighborhood, Daewon insisted on walking her to her door. His security stayed with the cars, giving them space. Su-min held Rahema's hand the whole way up the narrow stairs. At her door, Rahema fumbled for her keys. When she found them, she turned to say goodbye and found Daewon closer than she'd expected. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and masculine that made her head swim. "I need your phone number," he said. Rahema's breath hitched. "Why?" "Because if you need anything, anything at all, I want you to be able to reach me." He pulled out his phone, holding it out to her. "And because I'd like to see you again, to thank you properly. You don't owe me anything. Maybe not, but I'd still like to see you again." His eyes held hers. "If you'll let me." Rahema knew she should say no. This man screamed danger and complication. The bodyguards, the expensive cars, the way everyone at the hospital had acted around him. Nothing about this was normal or safe. But when she looked at him, she didn't see danger. She saw the way he'd held his daughter, the genuine gratitude in his eyes, the careful way he'd touched her arm, making sure he didn't hurt her further. She took his phone and entered her number. "Thank you," he said softly, his fingers brushing hers as he took the phone back. The brief contact sent sparks up her arm. "I'll call you tomorrow, if that's okay." "Okay," Rahema whispered. Su-min threw her arms around Rahema's waist. "Thank you for saving me, Miss Rahema. You're like a superhero." Rahema hugged her back, her heart squeezing. "You're welcome, sweet girl." When they left, Rahema stood in her doorway watching them go. At the stairs, Daewon turned back. Their eyes met one more time, and Rahema felt that pull again. That sense that something had just started, something that would change everything. She went inside and closed the door, leaning against it. Her body ached. Her scrubs were torn and bloody. She should shower, eat, sleep. Instead, she found herself smiling. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. "This is Daewon. Just making sure you got inside safely. Sleep well, Rahema." She saved his number, her smile growing wider. Outside her window, in one of the black cars still parked on the street, Daewon sat, staring at his phone, at her name on his screen, at the single message she'd sent back. You too. Jun-sik cleared his throat from the driver's seat. Should I tell the men to investigate her background? No. Daewon's voice was firm. I don't want her looked into, not yet. But sir, after what happened tonight, we need to know if she's connected to... She's not. Daewon watched Rahema's window, where a light had just turned on. She's exactly what she appears to be. Someone good. Someone real. And that doesn't worry you. Daewon thought about how Rahema had looked at him. No fear, no calculation. Just genuine warmth and a hint of attraction she couldn't quite hide. It terrifies me, he admitted, because I'm going to see her again, and she doesn't know what kind of man I really am. In the back seat, Soo-min was already asleep, her small hand curled around the sleeve of Daewon's jacket. Safe. Because of Rahema. Daewon made a decision then. Whatever it took, however long it required, he was going to find a way to keep both of them in his life. His daughter, and the woman who'd saved her. Even if that meant Rahema would eventually learn the truth about him, even if that truth might make her run. 3 days passed before Daewon called. Rahema had almost convinced herself he wouldn't, that their encounter had been a strange, intense moment that would fade into memory. She'd gone back to work, endured her co-workers' questions about her bruises, and tried not to think about dark eyes and gentle hands. Then her phone rang during her lunch break. Hello. Rahema, it's Daewon. His voice sent a shiver down her spine. How are you feeling? Better. The bruises are fading. Good. I'm glad. A pause. Soo-min hasn't stopped talking about you. She wants to see you again. Rahema's heart warmed. She's a sweet girl. She is. Which is why I'm calling to ask if you'd let us take you to dinner, as a proper thank you. Rahema hesitated. Every sensible part of her brain screamed this was a bad idea. I don't know. Please. The word was soft, almost vulnerable. Just dinner. I promise I don't bite. Against her better judgment, Rahema found herself smiling. When? Tonight? I can pick you up after your shift. And that was how Rahema ended up in the back seat of a luxury car again, this time wearing the nicest dress she owned, a simple blue wrap dress that made her dark skin glow. Soo-min chattered happily beside her, telling her about school and her friends. Daewon sat across from them, and Rahema caught him staring more than once. When their eyes met, he didn't look away. The intensity of his gaze made heat pool low in her belly. The restaurant was unlike anywhere Rahema had ever been. Elegant, expensive, with soft lighting and live piano music. The host greeted Daewon by name and led them to a private section. You own this place, don't you? Rahema asked as they sat down. Guilty. Daewon's lips curved. I own several restaurants in Boston. This is my favorite. Dinner was wonderful. The food was incredible, each course better than the last. Soo-min ate her pasta happily, occasionally interjecting into the adult conversation with 7-year-old observations that made them both laugh. But what Rahema enjoyed most was talking to Daewon. He asked about her life, her family, why she'd come to America. She found herself opening up in ways she rarely did with people she'd just met. My father died when I was 15, she explained. I have 3 younger siblings. My mother works so hard, but it's never enough. When I got the opportunity to come here, to work as a nurse and send money home, I took it. That must be lonely, Daewon said quietly. Being so far from them. It is. But I video call them every week. And someday, I want to go back and open a medical clinic in my village. Somewhere people can get good care without traveling for hours. Something shifted in Daewon's expression. Admiration, maybe. That's a beautiful dream. What about you? Rahema asked. What's your dream? Daewon looked at his daughter, who was focused on her dessert. To give her a good life, to keep her safe, to make sure she never has to be afraid. The weight in his voice made Rahema's chest tighten. What happened to her mother? We're divorced. She left when Soo Min was 5. Decided being a mother was too boring. I'm sorry. Don't be. We're better off. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing Rahema's hand. And now, we've met you. The touch was brief, but it left Rahema's skin tingling. After dinner, Soo Min fell asleep in the car. Daewon carried her inside when they reached Rahema's apartment, refusing to wake her. Rahema unlocked her door, and Daewon followed her in, his daughter cradled against his chest. You can put her on the couch, Rahema whispered. Daewon laid Soo Min down gently, tucking his jacket around her like a blanket. The tenderness of the gesture made Rahema's heart squeeze. When he straightened, they were standing close in her small living room. Too close. Rahema could feel the heat radiating from his body. Thank you for tonight, she said softly. I had a really nice time. So did I. Daewon's hand lifted, his fingers ghosting along her jaw. You're different from anyone I've ever met. Different how? Real. Honest. Good. His thumb traced her lower lip. I haven't been around much goodness in my life. What do you mean? For a moment, Rahema thought he might tell her something important, but then he just shook his head. Nothing. Just that you're special, Rahema. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met in a kiss that was soft at first, testing. Then Daewon's hand slid into her hair, tilting her head back, and the kiss deepened. Rahema gasped against his mouth. Heat flooded through her body. She'd been kissed before, but never like this. Never with this intensity, this hunger barely held in check. Daewon pulled back, his breathing unsteady. I should go. Yes, Rahema agreed, but neither of them moved. I want to see you again. Okay. Soon. Okay. He kissed her once more, quick and hard, then stepped back before they could get carried away with his daughter sleeping feet away. I'll call you tomorrow. After they left, Rahema touched her lips, still feeling the pressure of his mouth on hers. She was in trouble. Deep, dangerous trouble. But she couldn't bring herself to care. The next week passed in a blur. Daewon called every day. They had dinner 3 more times. He picked her up after shifts, bringing coffee and pastries. He was slowly, methodically, working his way into her life. And Rahema was letting him. She noticed things, though. The bodyguards who were always nearby but tried to stay invisible. The way people looked at Daewon with a mix of respect and fear. The phone calls he'd step away to take, coming back with a harder expression. What exactly do you do? She asked one evening as they walked through Boston Common, Soo Min running ahead to feed the ducks. I'm a businessman. Real estate, restaurants, import, and export. That's vague. Daewon stopped walking and turned to face her. Would you believe me if I told you I wanted to keep you separate from that part of my life? That when I'm with you, I get to be just a man, not everything else I have to be? Rahema studied his face. She saw the truth there, and something else. Shadows. Secrets. I believe you, she said finally, but secrets have a way of coming out. I know. He cupped her face in both hands. And when they do, I hope you'll let me explain, really explain. Before Rahema could respond, Soo Min came running back. Daddy, Miss Rahema, come see. There's baby ducks. The moment passed, but Rahema couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. Something that would force all those secrets into the light. A week later, Daewon invited her to his house, not for dinner with Soo Min, but just the two of them. His daughter was spending the night with his brother. Rahema knew what this meant, what might happen, She wore a red dress that hugged her curves and made her feel beautiful. Daewon's house was massive, a modern mansion in one of Boston's wealthiest neighborhoods. When he opened the door, his eyes darkened at the sight of her. "You're stunning," he said roughly. "Thank you." He'd cooked, which surprised her. Korean food, rich and flavorful. They ate on his terrace overlooking the city lights. The Gyeodorm conversation flowed easily, punctuated by long looks and accidental touches that felt anything but accidental. After dinner, Daewon led her inside. They stood in his living room, and suddenly the air felt thick with tension. "Rahema," he said, his voice low. "If you want to leave, I'll take you home right now. No questions asked." "I don't want to leave." He closed the distance between them in 2 strides. This kiss wasn't gentle like the first one. It was hungry, demanding. Rahema kissed him back just as fiercely, her fingers tangling in his hair. Daewon lifted her easily, and she wrapped her legs around his waist. He carried her upstairs to his bedroom, laying her on his bed like she was precious. "Are you sure?" he asked, his hands already working the zipper of her dress. "Yes." Rahema pulled him down to her. "I'm sure." What followed was intense and passionate. Daewon touched her like he was memorizing every inch of her skin. He whispered to her in Korean, words she didn't understand, but that sounded like prayers. Rahema gave herself over to the sensation, to the feeling of being wanted so completely. Afterward, they lay tangled together, both breathing hard. Daewon traced patterns on her back. "I'm falling for you," he said quietly. "I know it's fast. I know we barely know each other. But I am." Rahema's heart thundered. "I'm falling for you too." He rolled over, pinning her beneath him, and kissed her again. "Then stay. Stay with me tonight." She stayed. They made love twice more before finally falling asleep as dawn broke over Boston. When Rahema woke, she was alone in the huge bed. She found one of Daewon's shirts and pulled it on, following the smell of coffee downstairs. She found him in his home office, speaking harshly in Korean on the phone. When he saw her in the doorway, his expression softened immediately. He ended the call abruptly. "Good morning, beautiful. Everything okay?" "Just business." He pulled her into his arms. "Nothing for you to worry about." But Rahema did worry, because she was falling in love with a man she didn't fully know. And she had a feeling that when she learned the truth, everything would change. She just didn't know how much. Rahema woke up in Daewon's bed for the 3rd time that week, and it felt dangerously like home. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his bedroom. She stretched, feeling pleasantly sore, and smiled at the memory of the night before. Daewon had been insatiable, his hands and mouth worshipping every inch of her body until she'd cried out his name so many times she'd lost count. She found him downstairs making breakfast, Soo-min already at the table doing homework. The little girl's face lit up when she saw Rahema. "Mama Rahema!" Soo-min launched herself at her, wrapping small arms around her waist. Rahema froze. She looked at Daewon, whose expression had gone very still. This was the first time Soo-min had called her that. "Sweetie," Rahema said gently, kneeling down. "I'm not your mama, but I want you to be." Soo-min's bottom lip trembled. "My real mama left. She didn't want me. But you're nice, and you smell good, and Daddy smiles when you're here." Rahema's throat tightened. She pulled the little girl close. "I'm not going anywhere, okay? But we should take things slow." "Okay." Soo-min hugged her tighter. "Can you still braid my hair like yours?" "Absolutely." Over breakfast, Rahema noticed Daewon watching them with an expression she couldn't quite read. Happy, but also worried, like he was waiting for something to go wrong. Later, after she'd braided Soo-min's hair and the little girl had gone to play in her room, Daewon pulled Rahema aside. I need to tell you something, he said. Rahima's stomach dropped. Here it comes, she thought. The truth. But before he could continue, his phone rang. He glanced at it, and his whole body tensed. I have to take this. I'm sorry. Give me 5 minutes. He disappeared into his office. 5 minutes turned into 20. When he emerged, his face was hard, all the warmth from breakfast gone. I have to go handle something, he said. Work emergency. I'll have my driver take you home. Daewon, what's going on? Nothing I can explain right now. He kissed her forehead quickly. I'll call you later, I promise. But he didn't call. Not that day or the next. Rahima's texts went unanswered. She tried not to panic, tried to tell herself he was just busy. But doubt crept in. Maybe he'd realized getting involved with her was a mistake. Maybe his family had objected. Maybe the novelty had worn off. On the third day, someone knocked on her apartment door at midnight. Rahima opened it to find Jun-sik, Daewon's right-hand man. Miss Nabiria, Mr. Park requests your presence. Now? It's midnight. It's urgent. Against her better judgment, Rahima followed him to a car. They drove to a warehouse in a rough part of Boston. Every instinct screamed at her to leave, but worry for Daewon overrode her fear. Inside the warehouse, she found him, and she finally understood. Men in suits surrounded a figure tied to a chair, bloodied and beaten. Daewon stood over him, his knuckles split and bleeding. There was a gun on the table beside him. Daewon? Her voice came out small. He spun around, and the look on his face when he saw her was pure horror. What is she doing here? I said to take her home. You said to bring her, boss, Jun-sik said carefully. You were very specific. I was talking about the other situation. Daewon crossed to Rahima in 3 strides, grabbing her shoulders. You shouldn't be seeing this. You need to leave. But Rahima couldn't move. She stared at the scene behind him, at the casual violence, at the gun. What are you? Rahima, please. Tell me the truth. Her voice shook. Right now. What do you do? Really? Daewon's jaw clenched. He looked back at his men, then at her. Everyone out. Give us the room. The men filed out silently. Even, the one tied to the chair, was dragged away. When they were alone, Daewon turned to face her. I run an organization, he said flatly. Some people call it the Korean mob. We control territory in Boston, handle imports, manage protection, oversee gambling and loans. It's what my father did before me, what his father did before him. Rahima felt like the ground had dropped out from under her. You're a criminal? Yes. You kill people. When I have to. His eyes were empty. I won't lie to you about that. Rahima backed toward the door. I can't. I came to America to build a better life, not to get caught up in violence and crime. I know. Daewon didn't try to stop her. I knew you'd react this way. That's why I tried to keep you separate from all of this. How could you think we could build something real when you've been lying to me? I never lied. I just didn't tell you everything. That's the same thing. Tears burned in her eyes. What about Soo-min? How can you raise a child in this world? Something flashed across his face. Pain, raw and deep. You think I don't hate it? That I don't want better for her? I'm trying to protect her the only way I know how. By teaching her that violence is normal, that crime is just business. By making sure no one ever hurts her, his voice rose. By being powerful enough that she's untouchable. You don't understand what it's like. You're right. I don't. Rahima reached for the door handle. And I don't want to. Rahima, wait. I'm sorry, Daewon. I really am. But I can't do this. I can't be part of your world. She left. Jun-sik drove her home in silence. Rahima made it inside her apartment before the tears came, great heaving sobs that shook her whole body. She'd fallen in love with him, completely, stupidly in love, and she'd never really known him at all. The next week was torture. Rahema threw herself into work, picking up extra shifts to avoid thinking. But everything reminded her of Daiwan, the coffee shop where he'd brought her favorite drink, the park where they'd walked with Sumin, her own bed, where she could still smell his cologne on her sheets. Her co-worker Fatima noticed immediately. "What happened? You look terrible." "Man trouble," Rahema said tiredly. "The rich one with the cute daughter? He turned out to be not who I thought." "They never are, honey." Fatima squeezed her shoulder. "But you'll get through this." Rahema wasn't so sure. She missed him with an intensity that scared her, missed his laugh, his touch, the way he looked at her like she was the only person in the world. She missed Sumin's chatter and sticky hugs. But every time she thought about going back, she remembered that warehouse, the blood, the gun, the cold efficiency of violence. She couldn't live like that. She wouldn't. 2 weeks after their confrontation, Rahema was walking home from a late shift when a car pulled up beside her. Not one of Daiwan's. This one was unfamiliar, and the men who got out didn't have the professional bearing of his security team. "Rahema Nabiria?" one asked in a thick accent. "Who's asking?" "You need to come with us." Fear shot through her. "I don't think so." She turned to run, but they were faster. A hand clamped over her mouth. Something sharp pricked her neck. The world went fuzzy, then black. When Rahema woke, she was in a basement somewhere, tied to a chair. Her head pounded. Her mouth tasted like metal. A man sat across from her, smoking a cigarette. He was older, with cold blue eyes and a scar running down one cheek. "Miss Nabiria," he said in heavily accented English. "Welcome. I am Viktor Petrov. I believe you know Daiwan Park." Rahema's blood ran cold. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please, do not insult me." He leaned forward. "You are his woman. He cares for you. This makes you valuable." "I'm not his woman. We broke up." "Interesting." Viktor studied her. "And yet my sources say he has been very unhappy since you left. Distracted, making mistakes. Yes, I think you are still valuable. What do you want? Territory, money, his business?" Viktor shrugged. "He has been a problem for me. But now I have you. Now he will cooperate, or you will suffer." Terror clawed at Rahema's throat. "He won't care. I told you. We're done." "Then I suppose we will find out." Viktor stood. "In the meantime, get comfortable. You may be here a while." He left. Rahema pulled at the ropes binding her wrists, but they held fast. She was trapped. And despite everything, despite her anger and hurt, there was only one person she wanted to see right now. Daiwan. She prayed he would come, and prayed he wouldn't get killed trying. Daiwan knew something was wrong the moment Jun-sik burst into his office without knocking. "Sir, we have a situation." "What kind of situation?" "It's Rahema. She's been taken." The world stopped. Daiwan was out of his chair before Jun-sik finished speaking, his heart hammering against his ribs. "Taken? By who?" "Viktor's men. They grabbed her outside the hospital 2 hours ago. We just got the message." Jun-sik handed him a phone showing a photo. Rahema, tied to a chair, fear written across her beautiful face. Daiwan's hands shook. Rage, pure and burning, flooded through him. "Where is she?" "We're working on it. Victor wants a meeting. Says he'll trade her for the South Boston territory and $2 million. No trade." Daiwan's voice was deadly calm. "Get every man we have. Find out where he's keeping her. We're getting her back tonight." "Sir, it could be a trap." "I don't care." Daiwan met his friend's eyes. "She's there because of me. Because Victor thinks he can use her against me. I won't let her pay for my choices. You're in love with her. It wasn't a question, but Daewon answered anyway. Yes, completely. And if anything happens to her, I will burn his entire organization to the ground. Within 3 hours, they had a location, an abandoned factory near the Shoban, or port. Daewon assembled 20 of his best men, armed and ready. His brother Sang-woo tried to stop him at the door. Think about this. Victor has been waiting for you to make a mistake. This is exactly what he wants. Then he'll get it. Daewon checked his gun. Stay here with Soo-min. If something happens to me, take care of her. And tell Rahema I'm sorry. For everything. You can tell her yourself when you bring her home. Daewon hoped his brother was right. The factory was dark and silent when they arrived. Too silent. Daewon's instinct screamed trap, but he didn't care. Rahema was inside. Nothing else mattered. They moved in fast and hard. Victor's men were waiting, and gunfire erupted immediately. Daewon fought his way through, taking down anyone between him and Rahema. A bullet grazed his arm. Another hit his shoulder, spinning him around, but he kept moving. He found her in a basement room, still tied to that chair. Her eyes widened when she saw him, bloody and determined. Daewon, I'm here. He crossed to her, cutting the ropes with shaking hands. I've got you. You're safe now. You're bleeding. I'm fine. He pulled her into his arms, breathing in her scent, feeling her solid and real against him. God, Rahema, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. We need to go. She pulled back, her hands on his face. Victor has more men coming. Let them come. But he took her hand, leading her toward the exit. They almost made it. In the main factory floor, Victor appeared with a gun pointed straight at Daewon's chest. Leaving so soon? Victor smiled coldly. We haven't finished our negotiation. There's no negotiation. Daewon pushed Rahema behind him. Let her go. Your fight is with me. But she is the perfect leverage. Victor's finger moved to the trigger. Without her, you are just another criminal. With her, you are weak. Then I guess I'm weak. Everything happened at once. Victor fired. Daewon shoved Rahema aside and returned fire. More of his men burst in, and chaos erupted. When the smoke cleared, Victor was on the ground, wounded, but alive, and Daewon was standing over him. Touch her again. Touch anyone I care about again, and I won't miss next time, Daewon said quietly. Stay out of Boston. Stay out of my life, or I will end yours. They left Victor to his men and got out. Jun-sik drove while Rahema pressed a cloth against Daewon's shoulder wound in the back seat. You need a hospital, she said, her voice shaking. I need to know you're okay first. He caught her hand. Did he hurt you? No, just scared me. Tears streamed down her face. You could have been killed. That bullet could have hit your heart. Better me than you. Don't say that. She was crying in earnest now. Don't you dare say that. Soo-min needs you. I need you. Daewon pulled her close with his good arm. You need me? Even after everything? Even knowing what I am? I don't care what you are. Rahema looked up at him, her eyes fierce despite. The tears. I love you. I've been miserable without you. Tonight proved it. When I thought I might never see you again, nothing else mattered. Not your job, not the danger, just that I loved you, and I never got to tell you. I love you too. Daewon kissed her, tasting her tears. So much it terrifies me. You walked into my life and changed everything. Made me want to be better. Made me believe I could be. Then be better. Not for me. For Soo-min. For yourself. I will. I swear. I will. He kissed her again. Deeper. Move in with me. Let me protect you. Let me love you the way you deserve. That's crazy. We've only known each other 2 months. I don't care. Life is short. Tonight proved that. I want you with me, every day, every night. Say yes. Rahema looked at him, at this dangerous, complicated man who just risked everything to save her. Yes, but you're going to the hospital first. At the hospital, while doctors patched up Daiwan's shoulder, Rahema called her mother in Uganda. She'd never told her family about Daiwan, keeping that part of her life separate. But now, she needed to hear her mother's voice. Mama, I met someone, she said in her native language. It's complicated. He has a daughter. His life is dangerous. But I love him. Am I crazy? Her mother was quiet for a moment. Then she laughed softly. Love is always crazy, my daughter. The question is, does he treat you well? Does he respect you? Would he give his life for yours? Rahema thought about Daiwan taking that bullet, pushing her to safety without hesitation. Yes, to all of it. Then it is not so complicated after all. Follow your heart. But be careful. Danger is still danger. I will, Mama. I promise. When she returned to Daewon's room, she found Su Min there, having been brought by Sang-woo. The little girl was curled against her father's good side, crying. Daddy, you promised not to get hurt again, she sobbed. I know, Princess. I'm sorry. Daewon stroked her hair, his eyes meeting Rahema's over his daughter's head. But I had to help someone very important. Miss Rahema? Yes. Su Min lifted her head, looking at Rahema with red, swollen eyes. Are you going to leave again? Daddy's been so sad since you left. He doesn't smile anymore, and he works all the time. And I heard him tell Uncle Sang-woo that he broke his own heart. Rahema crossed to the bed, taking Su Min's small hand. I'm not leaving. I'm going to come live with you, and your daddy, if that's okay with you. Su Min's face transformed. Really? You mean it? I mean it. The little girl threw herself at Rahema, hugging her tight. Over her head, Do-won mouthed, Thank you. Rahema smiled, feeling pieces of her heart that had been broken click back into place. This was her family now. Dangerous, complicated, but hers. Later that night, after Su Min had finally fallen asleep in a chair beside the hospital bed, Daewon pulled Rahema close. I meant what I said earlier, he whispered. About wanting to be better. I'm going to start pulling out of the dangerous parts of the business. Focus on the legitimate operations. It'll take time, but I'll do it. For Su Min. For you. For us. That could make you vulnerable, Rahema said. Your enemies will see it as weakness. Let them try. His arms tightened around her. I've got something worth protecting now. Something worth changing for. That makes me stronger, not weaker. Rahema kissed him softly. I'm going to hold you to that promise. Please do. He tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear. You're my conscience, Rahema. My better half. Don't let me forget that. Never. They stayed like that, holding each other as the Boston night faded into dawn outside the hospital window. Tomorrow would bring challenges, questions, the hard work of blending their lives together. But tonight, they had each other. They had survived, and they had chosen love over fear. It was enough. It was everything. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. We love hearing from you all around the world. Moving into Daewon's house should have been romantic. Instead, it felt like walking into a war zone. Rahema had barely finished unpacking her clothes when the first attack came. Not with guns or violence, but with something far more cutting. His mother. Sun Hee Park arrived unannounced 3 days after Rahema moved in, sweeping through the front door like a cold wind. She was elegant and intimidating in an expensive suit, her hair perfectly styled, her expression radiating disapproval. "So you are the one my son has chosen," she said in accented English, looking Rahema up and down like she was evaluating livestock. "Mother, this is Rahema." Daewon's voice held a warning note. "Rahema, my mother. Soon-hee." "It's nice to meet you," Rahema said, extending her hand. Sun-hee ignored it. "You are very different from what I expected from my son's partner." The emphasis on different made Rahema's spine stiffen. She knew exactly what the older woman meant. Not Korean, not wealthy, not approved. "Mother," Daewon's voice turned sharp. "I am simply stating facts." Sun-hee moved past them into the living room, making herself comfortable on the couch like she owned the place, which, given how much money she'd probably given Daewon over the years, maybe she felt she did. "You have a responsibility to this family, to your daughter. A proper Korean wife would understand our culture, our traditions." "Rahema is staying," Daewon said flatly. "This isn't a discussion. Everything is a discussion when it involves family." Sun-hee's eyes landed on Rahema again. "Tell me, how long have you been in this country? Your English is quite good." 3 years, Rahema replied evenly, refusing to be intimidated. "I'm a nurse at Boston General." "A nurse? How practical." The words dripped with condescension. "And your family? What do they do?" "They're farmers in Uganda, hard-working, honest people who taught me the value of helping others." Uganda. Sun-hee said it like it was a disease. So very far from Korea, from understanding. "That's enough." Daewon moved to stand beside Rahema, his hand finding hers. "Rahema saved Soo-min's life. She makes me happy. She's good for both of us. Those are the only things that matter. What matters is family legacy. What matters is that you are raising my granddaughter in an unstable environment, with a woman who knows nothing of our ways." Before Daewon could respond, Soo-min ran into the room, stopping short when she saw her grandmother. The little girl's face closed off in a way that broke Rahema's heart. "Grandmother," Soo-min said dutifully, bowing slightly. "Come here, child." Sun-hee gestured. "Let me see how you have grown." But Soo-min moved past her grandmother and straight to Rahema, taking her hand. "Can you help me with my math homework, Mama Rahema?" The room went silent. Sun-hee's face turned to stone. "What did you call her?" the older woman asked quietly. "Mama Rahema," Soo-min said, her chin lifting defiantly. "Because she takes care of me and loves me, more than my real mama ever did. Your real mother is Bora. This woman is nothing to you." "She's everything to me," Soo-min's voice rose. "She braids my hair and helps with homework and makes Daddy smile. You never come visit. Mama Bora left, but Rahema stayed." "Soo-min, sweetie, let's go work on that homework," Rahema said gently, not wanting the child in the middle of this battlefield. "No." Soo-min held her ground. "Grandmother needs to know. I love Rahema, and if she doesn't like it, she can leave like everyone else who doesn't want us." With that, the little girl marched upstairs. Rahema moved to follow, but Daewon stopped her. "I'll go. You two need to talk." When he left, Rahema turned to face Sun-hee, expecting more venom. Instead, the older woman looked tired. "She's never spoken to me like that," Sun-hee said quietly. "She's been through a lot, her mother abandoning her left wounds. And you think you can heal those wounds? With what? Your foreign ways and your different skin?" Rahema felt anger flash through her, hot and bright. "With love, with showing up every day, with being there when she needs me. That's what children need, not tradition or matching skin tones. They need someone who won't leave." Pretty words, but you do not understand the pressures on this family, the enemies we have, the expectations. Sun-hee stood. My son leads a dangerous life. He needs a wife who understands that world, who was raised in it. You are a nurse from a farm in Africa. You know nothing of what is required. Then I'll learn. But I won't leave him. I won't leave Soo-min, not because of your disapproval or anyone else's. Something flickered in Sun-hee's eyes. Respect, maybe. Or just more calculation. We will see how long that determination lasts, she said, when the real challenges come. When you realize what being part of this family truly means. She left without another word. Rahema sank onto the couch, shaking. Daewon found her there 10 minutes later. She's a nightmare, Rahema said. She's protective, in her own terrible way. He pulled Rahema into his arms. I'm sorry. I should have warned you. Will she ever accept me? Honestly? I don't know. But it doesn't matter. You're here because I love you, not because my mother approves. But it did matter. Over the next few weeks, Sun-hee launched a quiet campaign against Rahema. She showed up unannounced, always pointing out things Rahema did wrong. The way she cooked, how she cleaned, her lack of knowledge about Korean customs. Every visit left Rahema feeling inadequate and exhausted. Worse, other problems emerged. Daewon's business was struggling. Victor hadn't stayed down after their confrontation. He was making moves, attacking Daewon's operations, stealing clients. Daewon spent more and more time away from home, handling crisis after crisis. And then Bora came back. Rahema came home from a shift one evening to find a strange woman in her kitchen, making herself comfortable. She was beautiful in a cold, polished way, with perfect makeup and designer clothes. You must be the nurse, the woman said, looking Rahema over with calculating eyes. I'm Rahema. Who are you? Bora Park. Well, Bora again, now. I dropped the new last name after my second marriage failed. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'm Soo-min's mother, and Daewon's ex-wife. Rahema's blood ran cold. What are you doing here? Visiting my daughter. I have rights, you know. Legal custody agreements. That's funny. Daewon told me you signed away your rights when you left. Did he? Bora's smile sharpened. Men say a lot of things to their new girlfriends. Doesn't make them true. Before Rahema could respond, Soo-min appeared in the doorway. When she saw her mother, her whole body tensed. Hello, baby, Bora cooed, opening her arms. Come give mommy a hug. Soo-min didn't move. Why are you here? To see you, of course. I've missed you so much. You left. Soo-min's voice was flat, emotionless in a way that scared Rahema. You said I was boring, that Daddy was boring, that you wanted a better life. I made a mistake. I'm back now to make things right. I don't want you back. Soo-min crossed to Rahema, taking her hand. I have a real mama now, one who doesn't leave. Pain and rage flashed across Bora's face. She's not your mother. I am. And we're going to spend some time together, just the two of us. Get to know each other again. No, Soo-min said firmly. It wasn't a question. Bora stood. I've already spoken to your father. He's agreed to supervised visits. We start this weekend. She left, her perfume lingering in the air like a threat. When Daewon came home, Rahema confronted him. You agreed to let Bora see Soo-min without telling me. I didn't have a choice. She still has some legal rights, and if I refused, she'd take me to court. That would be worse for Soo-min. So we just let her waltz back in and traumatize that little girl again. I hate it as much as you do. Daewon ran his hands through his hair, looking exhausted. But my lawyers say I have to comply with the custody agreement until we can prove she's unfit. She abandoned her daughter. I know. His voice rose, then dropped. I know. But proving emotional abandonment in court is nearly impossible. We have to play this carefully. Rahema wanted to argue more, but she saw the stress in his face, the weight he carried. So instead, she held him, offering comfort even though she was terrified about what Bora's return meant for all of them. The supervised visits were torture. Bora showed up looking perfect every time, bearing expensive gifts that Su-min didn't want. She talked about taking trips together, about being a family again. And slowly, insidiously, she started planting seeds of doubt about Rahema. "Your new friend seems nice," Bora said during one visit, loud enough for Rahema to hear from where she sat as the court-appointed supervisor. "But she's not really family, is she? Not like your real mommy and daddy." "Rahema is my family," Su-min insisted. "For now, maybe. But people like her, they leave. They go back where they came from eventually. Africa is her home, not here with you." "That's not true." "We'll see." Bora smiled sweetly. "Just remember, when she leaves, Mommy will still be here. Mommy is forever." After each visit, Su-min clung to Rahema, needing reassurance that she wasn't leaving. It broke Rahema's heart. Things got worse when Bora started showing up at family gatherings, playing the role of concerned mother. Sun-hee, who'd never liked Rahema anyway, seemed to warm to the idea of Bora returning. "At least she understands our ways," Rahema overheard Sun-hee say to another family member at a dinner. "At least she is Korean." The only bright spot was Sang-woo, Daewon's younger brother. He pulled Rahema aside one evening after a particularly brutal family dinner. "Don't let them break you," he said. "My mother is stubborn and Bora is manipulative, but Daewon loves you. Su-min loves you. That's what matters." "What if it's not enough?" Rahema asked quietly. "What if I'm causing more problems than I'm solving?" "You're not. Trust me." Sang-woo squeezed her shoulder. "My brother was dead inside before you. Going through motions. You brought him back to life. Don't let them take that away." But the pressure kept mounting. Victor attacked another of Daewon's businesses, putting 3 men in the hospital. Daewon retaliated, which meant more late nights and more danger. Rahema barely saw him. When she did, he was exhausted and stressed, snapping at small things. They fought for the first time one night, when Rahema suggested he step back. Lauder theater. Someone else handled the Victor situation. "You don't understand," he said harshly. "If I show weakness now, everyone will come for us. For you. For Su-min. I have to be strong. Being strong doesn't mean doing everything yourself. It does in my world. Then maybe your world is the problem." The words hung between them. Daewon stared at her, something dark and hurt in his eyes. "Is that what you really think?" he asked quietly. "That my life, who I am, is a problem?" "No. Rahema's anger deflated. "I'm scared. I'm scared you'll get hurt. I'm scared of losing you." "Then trust me to handle this." He pulled her close. "I've been doing this my whole life. I know what I'm doing." But Rahema wasn't sure he did, because the man she loved was being pulled in too many directions. By his business, by his family, by his past. And she was starting to wonder if there was room for her in all of that chaos. The answer came sooner than she expected, in the worst possible way. She was leaving the hospital after a late shift when a car pulled up. Not Daewon's usual driver. Someone new. "Miss Nibiria, Mr. Park sent me. He needs you to come quickly. It's about Su-min." Rahema's heart stopped. She got in the car without thinking, too worried about the little girl to question anything. The car drove away from Daewon's house, heading toward an area of the city Rahema didn't recognize. "Where are we going?" she asked, fear creeping in. The driver's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror. "Somewhere Mr. Park will have to come find you." Rahema reached for the door handle, but the locks engaged. She was trapped. Again. And this time, She had a terrible feeling Victor wasn't the one who'd arranged her kidnapping. The safe house was nicer than the warehouse where Victor had kept her. Clean, furnished, almost comfortable, which somehow made it worse. Rahema sat on a sofa, her mind racing. The men who'd brought her here weren't Victor's people. Their tattoos were different. Their language was Korean, not Russian, which meant this was someone from inside Daewon's world. The door opened. A man walked in, younger than Daewon, with similar features. Family. "You must be Min Seo," Rahema said, remembering Daewon mentioning his cousin once. Daewon's competition for leadership. Smart girl. Min Seo sat across from her. But I prefer to think of myself as his replacement, the rightful heir who got passed over because my uncle favored his own son. So this is about jealousy? This is about what I'm owed. Min Seo leaned forward. Daewon is weak. He's losing territory to Victor. He's distracted by you and that brat daughter of his. The family council is losing faith. They're ready for new leadership. They'll never accept you while Daewon is alive. That's why you're here, to give him a choice. Step down peacefully, hand over control to me, or watch you suffer. Rahema's blood ran cold. He won't negotiate with you. Oh, I think he will. You see, I've done my research. Daewon has never cared about anyone the way he cares about you. His ex-wife? He was relieved when she left. His mother? He tolerates her. But you? You're his weakness. I'm not his weakness. I'm his strength. Romantic. But wrong. Min Seo stood. You've made him soft. Made him question the business. Made him talk about going legitimate. That kind of thinking destroys organizations. Before Rahema could respond, her phone rang. Min Seo pulled it from his pocket, answering on speaker. Daewon, right on time. If you hurt her, I'll kill you. Daewon's voice was ice. Family or not, Min Seo, I will end you. Such hostility. And here, I'm offering you a deal. Step down, give me your territory and your operations, and she goes free. Simple. There's nothing simple about betrayal. It's not betrayal, it's succession. You're clearly not fit to lead anymore. Too distracted, too weak. The family needs someone strong. The family needs someone loyal. You're neither. Min Seo's jaw clenched. You have 24 hours to decide. Step down, or I'll send pieces of your girlfriend back to you. He hung up. Rahema's whole body shook, but she forced herself to stay calm. Panic wouldn't help. You won't get away with this, she said. Daewon will find me. And when he does, he'll have to choose his power or your life. We'll see what he values more. Min Seo left, locking the door behind him. Rahema immediately searched the room for anything she could use to escape. Windows were barred. Door was solid. No weapons. But there was a small bathroom with a window that opened slightly for ventilation. Too small for her body, but maybe she could signal someone. She was contemplating her options when she heard shouting outside. Gunfire. More shouting. The door burst open. Jun-sik stood there, gun drawn. Miss Nabiria, we need to move. Now. How did you find me? No time. Come on. Rahema ran. They made it to the car where Daewon waited. Blood on his shirt, but eyes fierce and focused. Are you hurt? He grabbed her face, searching for injuries. No, I'm okay. How did you? Min Seo isn't as smart as he thinks. He used his phone to call me, and we traced it. Daewon pulled her against him. God, Rahema. When I thought about what he might do to you. I'm here, I'm safe. But the relief was short-lived. When they got back to the house, they found Sun-hee waiting with news that made everything worse. Bora has filed for full custody of Soo-min, she announced. She's claiming you are an unfit father because of your criminal activities and unstable home environment. What? Daewon's face went pale. She can't do that. She can, and she has. Apparently, she has evidence. Photos of you conducting business. Recordings of conversations. Someone has been helping her build a case. Min Seo, Rahema said quietly. He and Bora are working together. It made terrible sense. Min Seo wanted Daewon's position. Bora wanted Daewon back, or at least his money. Together, they could destroy everything he'd built. The hearing is in 3 days, Sun-hee continued. If you lose, Bora gets Su-min. And with you fighting for custody, distracted and vulnerable, Min Seo will make his move for control of the organization. Daewon sank into a chair, his face in his hands. Rahema had never seen him look so defeated. What do we do? She asked. I don't know. His voice cracked. If I fight Bora in court, everything about my life comes out. I'll definitely lose custody. If I step back from the business to look more legitimate, Min Seo takes over, and we lose our protection. Either way, I lose my daughter. Sun-hee looked at Rahema with cold calculation. Unless you leave. Mother, Daewon's voice held a warning. Think about it. Bora's case hinges on the unstable home environment. She'll point to this foreign woman with no ties to Su-min, living in sin with you, exposing the child to inappropriate situations. But if Rahema was gone, if you were single and focusing on being a father, no, Daewon said firmly. That's not happening. But Rahema was already thinking about it, about Su-min's tear-stained face, about how much that little girl had already lost, about whether her own presence was making things worse. Maybe she's right, Rahema said quietly. Don't. Daewon stood, crossing to her. Don't even think it. Su-min needs you. If me being here costs you custody, it won't. We'll figure something else out. What else is there? Rahema felt tears burn her eyes. Your mother is right. I'm the easy target, the outsider, the one who doesn't belong. Bora will use me to take your daughter away. Then we fight. And if we lose, what happens to Su-min then? Daewon had no answer for that. That night, Rahema made her decision. She waited until Daewon fell asleep, exhausted from stress and the earlier fight with Min Seo's men. Then she packed a single bag, moving quietly through the house she'd come to love. She stopped at Su-min's room. The little girl was asleep, her braided hair spread across the pillow. Rahema's heart shattered. I'm so sorry, baby, she whispered. But your daddy needs to focus on keeping you safe. And I can't help with that. She kissed Su-min's forehead and left before she could change her mind. In the kitchen, she wrote a letter to Daewon. Her hand shook as she formed the words. I love you. I love Su-min. That's why I have to go. Win your daughter back. Then, if you still want me, I'll be waiting. But she comes first. Always. I'm staying with Fatima. Don't come looking for me until this is over. Please. Rahema. She left the letter on the counter and walked out the door, calling a rideshare because she couldn't bear to take one of Daewon's cars. As the vehicle pulled away, she looked back at the house one last time. She was doing the right thing. She knew she was. So why did it feel like her heart was being ripped from her chest? The next morning, Daewon woke to an empty bed and a letter that destroyed him. He read it 3 times, hoping the words would change. They didn't. She was gone. The woman he loved had left to protect his daughter. Daddy? Su-min appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. Where's Mama Rahema? Daewon had to tell his daughter that another mother figure had left her, had to watch her little face crumple with grief, had to hold her while she cried. She didn't want to go, he explained, his own voice breaking. She left to help me keep you safe. I don't understand. Why can't we all be safe together? Because life is complicated sometimes, Princess. I hate complicated. Su-min buried her face in his chest. I just want my family back. So did Daewon. But first, He had battles to fight. He met with his lawyers, preparing for the custody hearing. Then he dealt with Min Seo, confronting him with evidence of the kidnapping and the collaboration with Bora. The family council agreed to exile Min Seo for his betrayal, stripping him of all titles and power. But the victory felt hollow, without Rahima there to share it. The custody hearing was brutal. Bora's lawyers painted Daewon as a violent criminal, an unfit father. They brought up every dark thing he'd ever done. But Daewon fought back. He presented evidence of Bora's abandonment, her neglect. He showed records of his legitimate businesses, his donations to charities and hospitals. He called witnesses who testified to his devotion to Soo Min. The judge took a week to decide, the longest week of Daewon's life. When the ruling came, Daewon won. Full custody, with Bora's rights permanently terminated for abandonment and attempted manipulation of the courts. He should have been celebrating. Instead, he could only think about the woman who'd sacrificed her own happiness to make this possible. That evening, he showed up at Fatima's apartment. Rahoma answered the door, her eyes red from crying. "You won?" she asked. "I won." He stepped inside, closing the distance between them. "But it doesn't mean anything if you're not with me. Come home, Rahima. Please. Soo Min needs you. I need you." "Are you sure? Your mother, Bora, everyone seems to think. I don't care what they think." Daewon cupped her face in his hands. "You are my family. You chose us, sacrificed for us. That makes you more family than blood ever could." Rahima started crying in earnest. "I missed you so much. I missed her so much." "Then come home. Let me prove to you that we're stronger together than apart. What about all the problems? The business, your enemies, your family? We'll handle them. Together. Like we should have from the start." He kissed her softly. "I love you. I choose you. Every day. Every time. Say you'll come back." "Yes," Rahima whispered against his lips. "Yes, I'll come back." They went home together. When they walked through the door, Soo Min came running, throwing herself into Rahima's arms. "You came back. You came back." "I promised I wouldn't leave forever," Rahima said, holding the little girl tight. "And I keep my promises." That night, after Soo Min was asleep, Daewon led Rahima to their bedroom. They made love slowly, tenderly, relearning each other's bodies, reaffirming their connection. Afterward, lying tangled together, Daewon said, "Marry me." Rahima lifted her head. "What?" "Marry me. I'm asking properly this time. I want you as my wife. I want to build a life with you. I want the world to know you're mine, and I'm yours." "Daewon, I know it's fast. I know we have obstacles. But I also know I love you more than I thought possible. Say yes." Rahima looked at him, at the hope and love in his eyes. She thought about everything they'd been through, all the pain and fear and doubt, and she realized it had made them stronger. "Yes," she said, "I'll marry you." He kissed her, deep and passionate, sealing the promise between them. They'd survived betrayal and doubt. They'd chosen each other over fear. Now they just had to face whatever came next. Together. Planning a wedding while dismantling a criminal conspiracy proved more challenging than Rahima had anticipated. The morning after Daewon's proposal, Rahima woke to find him already on the phone, speaking rapid Korean to Jun Sik. His face was hard, the soft lover from last night, replaced by the dangerous man who ran Boston's underworld. "We moved today," he said into the phone. "Min Seo thinks exile is his only punishment. He's wrong." After he hung up, Rahima touched his shoulder. "What's happening?" "I'm finishing what Min Seo started." Daewon turned to her, and his eyes were cold. "He conspired with Bora, kidnapped you, tried to steal my organization. Exile isn't enough. I'm making an example. What kind of example? The kind that ensures nobody ever tries this again. He softened slightly, pulling her close. I'm protecting us, protecting our future. I need you to trust me. I do trust you, but I also need you alive. Whatever you're planning will be handled carefully. I promise. He kissed her forehead. Now, I believe you have a wedding to plan. Rahema wanted to argue, to insist on knowing the details, but she recognized the wall in his expression. Some parts of his world he would always try to shield her from. She decided to respect that for now. Planning the wedding with Sun-hee proved to be its own battle. The older woman arrived that afternoon with magazines, fabric samples, and opinions. A traditional Korean ceremony would be most appropriate, Sun-hee announced, spreading materials across the dining table. We must honor our heritage. I'd like to honor my heritage too, Rahema said carefully. Perhaps we could blend traditions. Sun-hee's lips thinned. Blend? Yes. Korean and Ugandan. A ceremony that represents both families. That is highly unusual. So is this whole situation? Rahema met the older woman's eyes steadily. But I'm going to be part of this family. My culture, my background, it's part of who I am. Part of what your granddaughter will learn growing up with me. Doesn't she deserve to know all of herself? Something flickered in Sun-hee's face. For the first time, Rahema saw uncertainty rather than disapproval. Soo-min is Korean, Sun-hee said, but her voice lacked its usual conviction. Soo-min is a child being raised by a Korean father and a Ugandan stepmother. She's both. She can be both. Rahema leaned forward. I know you don't approve of me. I know you think Daewon should have married someone else. But I love your son. I love your granddaughter. I'm not trying to erase Korean culture from this house. I'm trying to add to it. Sun-hee was quiet for a long moment. Then she picked up a fabric sample, a deep red silk. This color is important in Korean weddings. It represents love and passion. In Uganda, we use vibrant patterns, rich golds and bright colors to celebrate joy. Perhaps, Sun-hee said slowly, we could find fabric that incorporates both. Red silk with golden accents. It wasn't acceptance, not quite, but it was a start. While they planned, Daewon was handling business. Min Seo had fled Boston, but Daewon's reach was long. By evening, his cousin had been found and brought back. The family council convened. Rahema wasn't allowed to attend, which was probably for the best. When Daewon came home late that night, blood on his knuckles, she didn't ask questions. She just cleaned his hands and held him. It's done, was all he said. Min Seo won't be a problem anymore. Rahema chose not to ask what done meant. The next challenge came from an unexpected source. Bora, stripped of custody rights and humiliated, tried one final move. She went to the media with her story. Mob boss steals daughter from mother, read the headline. The article painted Daewon as a violent criminal and Rahema as his complicit girlfriend. Sang-woo handled it, calling in favors with journalists and editors. The story was retracted within 24 hours, and Bora was threatened with defamation lawsuits if she spoke publicly again. She's getting desperate, Sang-woo explained over dinner at the house. When she realizes she's lost everything, she'll give up. Or she'll do something worse, Rahema said quietly. Not if we cut off every avenue first. Daewon's voice was firm. I've already spoken to her. Made it clear that if she comes near Soo-min, near you, near any of us again, the consequences will be severe. You threatened her? I promised her. His eyes met Rahema's. She made her choices. Now she has to live with them. A week before the wedding, Victor made his final play. He attacked one of Daewon's most important holdings, a shipping warehouse on the docks. 3 men were killed in the assault. Daewon's response was swift and brutal. He gathered his forces and went after Victor directly, ending the rivalry once and for all. Rahema didn't know the details. She only knew that when Daewon came home 2 days later, exhausted and bruised but alive, Victor was no longer a threat. "It's over," he told her. "Really over this time. We're safe." Rahema wanted to believe him, but she was learning that in Daewon's world, over never really meant over. There would always be another threat, another enemy, another problem. The question was whether she could live with that. 3 days before the wedding, Sun-hee invited Rahema to tea, just the two of them. They sat in a traditional tea house in Chinatown, the space quiet and peaceful. Sun-hee prepared the tea with practiced movements, each gesture precise and meaningful. "My son tells me you wish to understand Korean culture," she said, pouring the tea. "That you want Soo-min to know her heritage. I do. Why? Many women in your position would want to erase the past, start fresh. Because the past is what shaped Daewon and Soo-min. How can I love them without understanding where they come from?" Sun-hee sipped her tea, studying Rahema over the rim of the cup. "You are not what I expected. I'm sorry if I disappoint you. You do not disappoint me. You confuse me." Sun-hee set down her cup. "I wanted my son to marry a Korean woman because I thought it would be easier, that she would understand our ways, our struggles. But perhaps understanding comes from effort, not blood. I'm willing to put in that effort. I can see that. I can also see how my son looks at you, how my granddaughter has blossomed since you entered their lives." Sun-hee's eyes glistened slightly. "I was wrong to judge you so harshly. I was protecting my family the only way I knew how. But I see now that you are also protecting them." "I love them," Rahema said simply. "Yes, you do." Sun-hee reached across the table, taking Rahema's hand. The gesture shocked them both. "Will you let me teach you about Korean traditions, about our culture, not to replace your own, but to add to it?" Rahema felt tears prick her eyes. "I would be honored." "Then perhaps you will call me Umma. It means mother." "Umma," Rahema repeated, the word foreign but warming on her tongue. Sun-hee smiled, and for the first time it reached her eyes. The wedding took place on a perfect autumn day. The ceremony was held in the garden of Daewon's house, decorated with both Korean and Ugandan elements. Red silk draped from trees, alongside brightly patterned African fabrics. Traditional Korean drums played alongside Ugandan music. Rahema wore a dress that blended both cultures. The structure of a Korean hanbok in Ugandan fabrics, gold and crimson and deep purple. Her hair was styled in intricate braids woven with flowers. When she walked down the aisle on Sang-woo's arm, her own father couldn't afford to come from Uganda, though they'd set up a video call. She saw Daewon waiting. He wore a traditional Korean wedding outfit, and the look on his face took her breath away. Love. Pure, undiluted love. Soo-min was the flower girl, beaming with pride in her own dress that matched Rahema's. She scattered petals with great ceremony, making everyone smile. The ceremony itself was beautiful. They exchanged vows in both Korean and English, promising to honor each other's cultures, to build a family together, to face whatever challenges came with united hearts. When Daewon kissed his bride, everyone cheered. Even Sun-hee wiped away tears. The reception was joyful. Fatima gave a speech about how Rahema had found love in the most unexpected place. Junsik told embarrassing stories about Daewon. Sang-woo toasted to new beginnings. But the most touching moment came when Soo-min took the microphone. "I want to thank Mama Rahema," she said in her clear child's voice, "for saving me from that car, for staying even when things got hard. for teaching my daddy how to smile again. You're the best mama I could ever ask for." Rahima was openly crying by the time Su-min finished. She pulled the little girl into a hug, holding her tight. "Thank you, sweetheart, for letting me love you." As the night wore on, Dae-won pulled Rahima onto the dance floor. They swayed together, her head on his shoulder, his arms around her waist. "Happy?" he murmured into her hair. "So happy." "You?" "Happier than I ever thought possible." He pulled back slightly to look at her. "I meant every word of those vows. I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving to you that you made the right choice. You already have." He kissed her softly. Around them, their families and friends celebrated. Korean and Ugandan, legitimate and criminal, all coming together for this one perfect moment. Later that night, alone in their bedroom, Dae-won slowly undressed his wife, trailing kisses down her neck and shoulders. "I have a surprise for you," he said. "Another one? Remember your dream? The medical clinic in Uganda?" Rahima's breath caught. "Yes. It's being built. I've been working with investors and contractors for months. It'll be ready in 6 months. Dae-won." Rahima couldn't speak through her tears. "Your dreams are my dreams now," he said softly. "Always." She kissed him, pouring all her love and gratitude into it. They made love as husband and wife for the first time, slow and tender and perfect. Afterward, lying tangled together, Rahima felt complete. This was her family now. This complicated, dangerous, beautiful family. And she wouldn't change a thing. The honeymoon came with an unexpected destination. Uganda? Rahima stared at Dae-won in disbelief. "You're taking me to Uganda for our honeymoon?" "Us," Dae-won corrected, gesturing to where Su-min was excitedly packing her stuffed animals. "Family trip. I want to meet your mother, your siblings, see where you grew up, and I thought you might want to check on the clinic construction." Rahima threw her arms around him, overwhelmed. In all her plans and dreams, she'd never imagined Dae-won would want to visit her homeland, to understand that part of her life. The flight was long, but Su-min's excitement made it bearable. She peppered Rahima with questions about Uganda, about the village, about what it would be like. "Will there be lions?" she asked for the 10th time. "Not in my village, sweetheart, but maybe we can visit a wildlife reserve." When they landed in Entebbe, the warm African air wrapped around Rahima like a hug. She breathed it in, feeling something in her chest ease. She hadn't realized how much she'd missed home until this moment. Her family was waiting at the village. Her mother, smaller and grayer than Rahima remembered, started crying the moment she saw her daughter. Her 3 younger siblings crowded around, all talking at once. "Mama, these are my husband Dae-won and our daughter Su-min," Rahima said in her native language, then translated for Dae-won and Su-min. Her mother took Dae-won's hands, studying his face. She said something in rapid dialect that made Rahima blush. "What did she say?" Dae-won asked. "She says you have kind eyes, and that she's happy I found someone who looks at me the way my father looked at her." Dae-won bowed respectfully, a Korean gesture that charmed Rahima's mother immediately. The village welcomed them with a celebration, music, dancing, food. Su-min was delighted by everything, playing with local children despite the language barrier, learning new games and songs. Dae-won fit in surprisingly well. He sat with the village elders, communicating through Rahima and showing genuine interest in their lives. He played with the children, his expensive suit getting dirty without complaint. He ate the local food without hesitation. "He's a good man," Rahima's mother said that night as they washed dishes together. "Different from what I expected, but good." "He is. But his life is complicated, Mama. All lives are complicated. What matters is whether he treats you well, whether he would sacrifice for you. I see that he would." The next day, they visited the clinic site, The building was already half finished, the walls rising from the red earth. Workers called out greetings as Rahema walked through, her hand in Daewon's. "This is really happening," she whispered. "Did you doubt me?" "No. I just can't believe it's real." They spent 2 weeks in Uganda. Long, perfect days, filled with family and laughter. Soo-min learned words in Luganda. Daewon learned to cook matoke. Rahema reconnected with the part of herself she'd left behind 3 years ago. But she also realized something important. Uganda was where she came from, but Boston was home now. Because home was wherever Daewon and Soo-min were. On their last night, the village threw another celebration. This time, it was to formally welcome Daewon into the family. He participated in traditional ceremonies, accepting responsibilities and promises with the same seriousness he brought to everything. When they finally left, Rahema cried. But they were happy tears. She'd brought her 2 worlds together, and they'd fit better than she'd dared hope. Back in Boston, life settled into a new rhythm. Rahema returned to work at the hospital, but cut back her hours to spend more time with Soo-min. Daewon was making good on his promise to transition away from the criminal side of his business, focusing on legitimate operations. It wasn't easy. Some of his longtime associates felt betrayed. Others saw it as weakness. But Daewon was firm. He wanted to build something he could be proud of, something Soo-min could inherit without shame. Sun-hee surprised everyone by supporting the transition. She even started coming around more often, building a real relationship with both Rahema and Soo-min. She taught Rahema how to make traditional Korean dishes. She learned a few Lugandan phrases to please her new daughter-in-law. "I judged you unfairly," she admitted to Rahema one afternoon over tea. "I see now that you are exactly what my son needed. Someone strong enough to stand beside him, gentle enough to soften his sharp edges. Thank you, Amma. That means more than you know." 6 months after the wedding, Rahema realized she was late. Very late. She took the test in the bathroom at work, her hands shaking. When the 2 pink lines appeared, she sat on the closed toilet lid and cried. She was pregnant. She wanted to tell Daewon immediately, but she also wanted it to be special. She bought a tiny pair of baby shoes and wrapped them carefully. That evening, after Soo-min was in bed, she gave Daewon the box. "What's this?" he asked, smiling. "Open it." He did. His face went blank with shock when he saw the shoes. Then his eyes met hers, filled with wonder. "You're pregnant?" "Yes. About 8 weeks, I think." Daewon pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. When he pulled back, there were tears on his face. "I'm going to be a father again." "You're a wonderful father. You'll be amazing with this one, too." They told Soo-min the next morning. The little girl's reaction was priceless. "I'm going to be a big sister?" She jumped up and down. "Can it be a girl? I want a little sister to play with." "We don't get to choose, sweetheart," Rahema laughed. "Then I'll love whatever it is." Soo-min hugged Rahema's still flat stomach. "Hi, baby. I'm your big sister. I'm going to teach you everything." The pregnancy was smooth. Rahema worked through her first trimester, then transitioned to part-time as she got bigger. Daewon was attentive to the point of being overbearing, constantly checking on her, bringing her whatever she craved, refusing to let her lift anything heavier than a book. "I'm pregnant, not made of glass," she protested. "You're carrying my child, your precious cargo." She couldn't really argue with that. Sun-hee was thrilled about becoming a grandmother again. She showered them with traditional Korean baby items, explaining the significance of each one. Rahema's mother called from Uganda weekly, giving advice and sharing stories about Rahema's own baby. Days. 7 months into the pregnancy, they got news that changed everything. The clinic in Uganda was complete and ready to open. "I want to go," Rahema said. "I want to be there for the opening." You're 7 months pregnant? The doctors said no long flights. I know. But this is my dream, Daewon. I need to see it. They compromised. Instead of traveling herself, Rahema attended the opening via video call. She watched as her mother cut the ribbon, as the first patients walked through the doors, as the doctors and nurses she'd helped recruit began their work. Daewon held her as she cried happy tears. You did this, he said softly. You gave your village hope. You gave them health care. You changed lives. We did this. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have. You would have found a way. That's who you are. He kissed her temple. But I'm honored to have helped. 2 weeks before her due date, Rahema woke up to find her water had broken. Daewon went into a controlled panic, calling doctors, arranging the car, making sure Su-min was taken care of by Sang-woo. At the hospital, Rahema labored for 14 hours. Daewon never left her side, holding her hand, breathing with her, whispering encouragement in both English and Korean. When their son was finally born, tiny and perfect and screaming, Daewon cut the cord with shaking hands. He's beautiful, he said, tears streaming down his face. Rahema, he's perfect. They named him Kibwe Daehyun Park. Kibwe, meaning blessed in Lugandan. Daehyun, carrying on Korean naming traditions. When Su-min came to meet her baby brother, she was gentle and awed. He's so small, she whispered. Can I hold him? Rahema helped her settle the baby in her arms. Su-min stared down at him with such love, it made Rahema's heart ache. I promise to always protect you, Su-min told her baby brother seriously, just like Mama Rahema protected me. The first few months with a newborn were exhausting, but joyful. Daewon was a hands-on father, changing diapers and walking the floors at night when Kibwe wouldn't sleep. Su-min was a devoted big sister, always wanting to help. Sun-hee practically moved in, teaching Rahema traditional Korean postpartum care, while also respecting Ugandan traditions Rahema wanted to follow. The blending of cultures extended to their newest family member. On Kibwe's first-month birthday, they had a celebration that mixed Korean and Ugandan traditions. It was chaotic and loud and perfect. This is what family looks like, Rahema said to Daewon as they watched their children play, surrounded by loved ones from both cultures. Yes, he agreed, pulling her close. This is everything. That night, after everyone had left and the children were asleep, Daewon and Rahema stood in their bedroom, exhausted but happy. Do you remember the day we met? Rahema asked. When you pulled up in that car, terrified for Su-min? How could I forget? The moment I saw you holding my daughter, something in me recognized you, knew you were going to change everything. Did you ever imagine it would lead to this? To us, married with 2 children, blending cultures and families? No, I thought I'd live and die in the darkness. But you brought light. He turned her to face him. You saved me, Rahema. Not just that day when you saved Su-min. Every day since. You saved me from myself. We saved each other, she corrected. You gave me a family, a home, a place to belong. And I'll keep giving you that, for the rest of our lives. They kissed, soft and sweet and full of promise. Outside their window, Boston glittered in the darkness, the city that had brought them together, that had tested them, that had become home. Inside, their children slept peacefully. Su-min in her room decorated with both Korean and Ugandan art. Kibwe in his nursery, watched over by both cultures' protective symbols. This was their family. Hard-won, fiercely protected, endlessly loved. This was there forever. And it was just beginning. Chapter 9. New Beginnings. 3 years later, the Park family gathered in their backyard on a perfect spring morning. Kibwe, now a rambunctious 3-year-old, chased butterflies, while Su Min, almost 11, practiced the traditional Ugandan dance Rehema had been teaching her. Daewon stood at the grill, apron declaring him world's best dad in both English and Korean, a gift from his children last Father's Day. He was completely legitimate now, all his businesses legal and above board. It had taken time and sacrifice, but he'd done it. Rehema watched from a patio chair, her hand resting on her rounded belly. Baby number 3 was due in 2 months, and this time they knew it was a girl. Su Min was thrilled. Another sister to teach things to, she'd declared when they told her. Sun Hee arrived with Sang Woo, both carrying dishes of food. The older woman had transformed over the years, her relationship with Rehema now warm and genuine. She'd even visited Uganda twice, forming her own connection with Rehema's family. Halmoni! Kibwe ran to his grandmother, switching easily between English, Korean, and the Lugandan words Rehema taught him. Soon he scooped him up, laughing at his energy. "Where does he get all this energy?" she asked. "From his father," Rehema said, watching Daewon chase their son around the yard, both laughing. Fatima arrived with her own family, her 3 kids immediately joining the chaos. Jun-sik came with his new wife, a gentle kindergarten teacher who'd somehow tamed the former enforcer's rough edges. The gathering was loud and messy and perfect. Multiple languages floated through the air. Korean barbecue cooked alongside Ugandan dishes. Children played games from 3 different cultures. This was what they'd built. Not just a marriage, but a whole world where different backgrounds blended into something beautiful. After lunch, Daewon pulled Rehema aside. "I have something to show you," he said, leading her to his office. On his computer, he pulled up video footage. The clinic in Uganda, now expanded with a maternity ward and a pediatric center. Rehema's mother worked there part-time, translating for patients. "We're funding 2 more clinics," Daewon said. "One in Senegal for Fatima's family, and one in rural Korea, where my grandmother grew up." Rehema's eyes filled with tears. "Daewon, you taught me that success isn't about power or money. It's about what you build that outlasts you. These clinics will help people long after we're gone." "We really did it," Rehema whispered. "We took all that darkness from your past and turned it into light. We did. Together." He kissed her softly, his hand joining hers on her belly where their daughter moved and kicked. That evening, after their guests had left, and the children were bathed and in pajamas, the family gathered in the living room. It was their nightly ritual now. Story time. Tonight was Su Min's turn to choose. She picked a Ugandan folktale, one Rehema had told her years ago. As Rehema read, translating occasionally for the Korean and English parts, Kibwe curled up against her, and Su Min leaned on Daewon's shoulder. This moment, Rehema thought, this simple, perfect moment. This was what she'd saved when she jumped in front of that car 4 years ago. Not just one life, but an entire future, a family, a legacy. After the story, Daewon carried a sleepy Kibwe to bed, while Su Min helped Rehema stand up. "Mama, do you think the baby will like the room we decorated?" Su Min asked. "She'll love it. You did an amazing job. I want her to know she's special, that she has the best family ever." "She does, because you're her big sister." They tucked in Su Min, who was almost too old for tucking in, but still allowed it. As Rehema kissed her forehead, Su Min grabbed her hand. "Thank you," the girl said quietly. "For what, sweetheart?" "For not giving up. On Daddy. On me. On us. You could have walked away so many times. But you stayed." Rehema felt her throat tighten. "You were worth staying for. You all are." After the children were asleep, Rehema found Daewon on the bedroom balcony, looking out over their neighborhood. She joined him, and he wrapped his arms around her from behind, cradling her belly. "Penny for your thoughts," she said. Just thinking about how far we've come. 4 years ago, I was convinced I'd die young in some gang war. That Sue Min would grow up with a criminal for a father and no real mother. And now I'm a husband to the woman I love. Father to 3 incredible children. Running legitimate businesses that help people instead of hurt them. I'm respected for the right reasons. He turned her to face him. You gave me all of this. A life worth living. We gave it to each other, Rahema corrected, as she always did. I needed you just as much. You gave me a home, a family. You helped me achieve dreams I thought were impossible. I have one more dream to help with, Daewon said. How would you feel about starting a foundation? Healthcare access for underserved communities, scholarships for immigrant nurses, funding clinics worldwide. Your dream amplified. Rahema stared at him. Are you serious? Completely. We have the resources. More importantly, we have the passion. Let's use what we've built to help others build their own dreams. The Kibwe Foundation, Rahema said, the name coming to her immediately. Named after our son. Blessed. Because we are blessed, and we should share that. Perfect. Daewon kissed her. We'll start the paperwork next week. They stood together on the balcony, looking out at the city that had brought them together. Boston, with all its challenges and promises, had become truly home. Inside, their children slept safely. Below, the future waited, full of possibilities. Rahema thought back to that moment 4 years ago. Seeing a child in danger and not hesitating. Not knowing that split-second decision would change her entire life. She'd saved Sue Min that day. But in so many ways, Sue Min had saved her too. Had brought Daewon into her life. Had given her a family she never expected. Sometimes, Rahema thought, the most important moments are the ones you don't plan. The ones where you just react from the heart. Where you choose love over fear, courage over caution. She'd chosen to save a child. That child's father had chosen to love her. Together, they'd chosen to build something beautiful from broken pieces. That was what love did. It took the unexpected, the complicated, the dangerous, and transformed it into something worth fighting for. Daewon's hand found hers in the darkness, their fingers intertwined, Korean and Ugandan, criminal past and healing future, all woven together. I love you, he said softly. I love you too. Always. From inside, they heard Kibwe call out in his sleep. They went to check on him together, as they did everything now. Partners, parents, lovers, friends. Their daughter kicked hard in Rahema's belly, as if reminding them she was coming soon to join this crazy, beautiful family. Rahema smiled, her heart full to bursting. She'd protected a child she didn't know, only to learn she was a mafia boss's daughter. But the real story wasn't about danger or crime or dramatic rescues. It was about what came after. The choice to stay. The work to blend two worlds. The courage to love despite every obstacle. It was about family, built not just through blood, but through choice and commitment and daily acts of love. It was about forever. Real, messy, imperfect, absolutely perfect forever. And theirs was just beginning. The Park family, Korean and Ugandan, former criminal and dedicated nurse, children from different mothers, but one united family, stood on the threshold of their future. Together, they would face whatever came. Together, they were unstoppable. Together, they were home. Thanks so much for staying with us through this entire journey. If you loved this story, please hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. We love hearing from you.